All right. So let's go on to the last one. And again, see, whatever you think, feedback to them can be very dangerous, by the way, damaging. Okay. A D personality can come into an S, dump on them like a seagull, and fly away. And 5 minutes later come in and want to hug and kiss like nothing ever happened. Meanwhile, the S is going to sit there and it's going to ruin them for 2 days. Right? All right. So, Joe.
He's here now.
Joe, you're here. I need you at all times here. All times. With the team. All right. Let's talk about the C's. The C's. Everybody, how many C's we had? We had a couple. I think Brandon had some C in it. Caitlin, you had some C in it.
A lot of people had C as their secondary. I don't know if anybody was a high C. Anybody?
Okay. That is, the easiest way to understand what a C is an engineer, an accountant. They're exact. They're almost like a piece of steel. They're not like aluminum. They don't bend very easily. They become very stringent. They're almost, if you notice, they're on the same line as the lower level of a D. You see, remember the D was to the bottom right where this is showing where the words are? They're in that bottom quadrant. They're very, boom. They're matter of fact. They're always on time. Don't be late for them. When you set a time with them, you're better off saying, we're going to have an appointment at 1:05 versus 1 o'clock. They're very precise. Do not use the word about. Oh, the taxes are about $7,200. No, they're $7,235.16. Okay? They're very direct. Not even a chance of guessing. They are going to overanalyze everything that they do. They're a perfectionist, almost to the point of paralysis through analysis. They're going to want to see the comps to the comps to the comps. And then they're going to say, well, how does the appraiser know what it's really going to appraise for? I want to do my own numbers. Nothing is a matter of fact. Everything's got to be validated. Okay? How many people know that? Okay, easiest way to understand a C is when you're cooking, you can be an I personality and an S kind of, but when you're baking, you need to be a D and a C because they're exact. They're exact measurements, all right? Because if you just take a little bit, my wife did it the other day. She was out of shortening and she was making chocolate chip cookies. She was out of shortening, used butter. If you use butter instead of shortening, the cookies are going to be flatter. The shortening is going to make them thicker. You ever done that? Next time you make chocolate chip cookies, don't use shortening. Use butter and you'll see the difference of the two. Personally, I like the thinner ones, but I'm not supposed to have any of them, as Mrs. Lurch says. I'm allowed to walk by and look. That's about it. So it's an exact science. How many people know people like that? They're always going to be on time. They're never going to be late, and they're never going to be early because it's going to throw them in a tizzy. They're going to come with a pad. How many people have had a person with a pad taking notes in a house? How I work with my C's when I'm showing a house, I always say, give me your top 2 best things you've seen in the house that makes you want to buy it. And they give them, and they'll usually give it. So great. Now that we've seen house 1 and house 2, which one is number 1? This one. Great. After the 3rd house, which one is number 1 out of the top 3? Great. Which one, and then you go to the 4th, if you're going to 4 or 5, then all of a sudden it gets a little quirky. After 5 houses, I know if you guys have people visiting, you got to hit a lot. You end up in a kitchen at this house and a bedroom at this house. You end up with a house that doesn't exist really. But when you get to the 4th house, I always say, okay, now you have to pick the top 3 and put them in order. C's love that. C's love that because it's order taking. And they're easy to close on the end. They won't buy right away. They won't buy it standing there, but at least you're going to have an order of the house of what they like. If you're dealing with a C personality, and I'll give you some hints on how to deal with this as we get into this, you always want to give them the paperwork in advance. I have a full set of paperwork that is written up as Mickey and Minnie, Sellers, Peter Pan, and Mary. I have everything written up, 111 Disney Lane, okay? I send them the contracts. I send all my clients the contracts written out with a hypothetical of Disneyland. And why do I do that? I want them to read it. I don't want them to have sticker shock. I don't want them to have analysis to a paralysis of reading things. I don't want them to knee-jerk and say, oh, I have to have my Uncle Louie, who hasn't bought a house in 40 years. Read this. I don't need them to think of what inspections I'm going to do. We already know. We've already had the discussion. You see the difference there? It's preparing them, and it's showing added value of you versus somebody else. When you're talking with a buyer for the first time and you're trying to build a rapport and you're trying to figure out what personality trait they are, and I'm going to give you a couple hints in a second. One of the things I'm always say, first of all, I know you're calling me about this property. Question I have is, what made you call about the property? What's making you want to make a decision to have interest in the real estate market right now? And who's your realtor? Notice I said who, not do you. I said who. And they're usually going to say, oh, I have a friend. Great. What's her name? Mary Smith. Sorry, don't know her. Does she sell a lot of real estate? We're part of the best team in 𝗡𝗢𝗧𝗛𝗡, in the area. We're nationally ranked. Not sure I know her. We come across a lot of people. So what you're saying is you want me to just answer questions for you so you can go back to her who doesn't really know the industry? I'm not knocking your friend. I'm only asking a question. You see where I just took it to the point of showing our credibility versus their credibility. And then saying, and by the way, your friend or your realtor has sent you copies of the paperwork you're going to need in the future, correct? By the way, give me your email. I'm going to send it to you right now while we're on the phone. Or I'm going to have it sent to you in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Are you okay with that? You see what you're doing? You're doing something faster than somebody else is doing. You're in an instant. You're in a microwave world. Versus the, I'll get it and I'm busy and I can't spend time with you.